previously on Hunter x Hunter. Gon left his village to become a hunter like his father. While trying to pass the hunter exams, he met Leorio, Kurapika, and Killua. After passing the 2 exam phases, the group arrived at the 3rd phase location. They have only 78 hours to get down from the tower alive. While inside the tower, they must face the prisoners and win 3 out of 5 matches against tower prisoners. Tompa takes the first match with a hardened-looking criminal and promptly gives up. The story continues with the Gon facing Sedekin, who proposes a match to see whose candle burns the longest. Gon chooses the longer candle, unaware that it is oil-soaked, and his candle starts to burn faster midway. Seeing that his candle is not susceptible to strong winds, he puts it down and sprints towards Sedekin to blow his candle out. The next match is between Kurapika and Majtani, who proposes a death match without weapons, and with the condition that one must die or surrender to finish the match. Majtani, who relies on scaring and intimidating his enemies to make them surrender, gloats about how many people he's killed and even keeps multiple heart tattoos numbering them. Kurapika notices a spider tattoo on Majtani's back and his eyes become scarlet. He easily defeats him with a devastating punch, knocking him out but not killing him. Kurapika tells Majtani to remember 3 things. 1. A genuine Phantom Troop tattoo has the member's number inscribed on the spider tattoo's back. 2. They have murdered so many people that it would be impossible to count. 3. Do not ever mention the Phantom Troop again or he will kill him. The group becomes frightened by Kurapika's outburst and the others try to figure out if Kurapika has a thing with spiders. He sits in the corner alone while the prisoners think of their next strategy. Elsewhere, Hisoka enters a room where a former examiner of the Hunter exam named Togari has been waiting for him. He wants revenge for Hisoka scarring his face in last year's exam. Hisoka calmly calls him an incompetent examiner and tells him that his own inadequacies are to blame for his scars, not him. Togari proceeds to demonstrate his infinite quad-wielding curved knife skills, showing it partially before he starts attacking Hisoka. Hisoka, however, easily dodges the knives, getting only slightly wounded. Togari tells him that he has nowhere to run and will be cut until he dies. Hisoka quickly learns the pattern of his attack and gracefully catches 2 of the blades before they hit him. He admits it would be impossible to stop Togari's attack and that the only way to do so is to grab his blades. It took Togari half a year to learn how to catch and throw those blades. Hisoka tells him that catching the blades was easier than he would have thought and that he appreciates his futile efforts. He quickly dispatches of Togari by decapitating him with his own blades. Hisoka then moves on to become the first to pass the 3rd phase of the Hunter exam, taking 6 hours and 17 minutes. Meanwhile, a prisoner named Lerut bets against Leorio whether Majtani is alive or dead, using their time as credits. She proposes to use their remaining 50 hours each and continue until one party has no more time credits to bet. As a consequence, if Leorio loses, his team has lesser hours to escape the tower, but if Lerut loses, the time will be added to her sentence. Leorio agrees to the match and bets 10 hours that Majtani is alive. He and Lerut check the prisoner and confirm that he's not dead yet. Fast forward, Lerut successfully wins the next 3 bets, reducing 50 hours from the examens, allotted time to escape Trick Tower. Her sentence is also reduced by 50 years. The last match will be Jonas vs Killua. As Lippo starts to remove Jonas' handcuffs, the other prisoner starts to take a step back to avoid him. Jonas removes his face cover, much to Leorio's alarm when he recognizes him, and he strongly advises Killua to back down. However, Killua ignores him and both of them enter the platform. Killua then asks how should they settle this match, which Jonas replies that he does not care about the exam and that he just wants to kill him. Killua innocently answers that the one who loses will die. Before Jonas can even make a move, Killua has already ripped his heart out in an instant, shocking everyone. Jonas pleads him to give his heart back, but in a matter of seconds, he's dead. A small path suddenly appears which leads them to a small room that they must wait in for 50 hours. Meanwhile, Gitter is seen in the finish line and is followed by Hanzo, thus making Gitter be the second to finish and Hanzo the third. Beretta manages to make it to the bottom of the Trick Tower before the time runs out and thus becomes the 4th person to finish the 3rd phase. With 40 hours left in the room, Gon and Killua keep themselves entertained by doing many things. Time continues to run until there is only 1 minute left. They all stand in front of the door, waiting impatiently. Finally, the long-awaited minute passes and the door opens automatically. Gon rushes out before anyone else makes a move. They begin their journey to the bottom of the tower by getting through various hurdles. After many obstacles, their time is 1 hour, and they all arrive in a small room with 2 doors. The first door has an X mark on it, while the second door has an O mark. They encounter a very difficult choice. The first is to choose the door with O mark that allows 5 to pass, but is long and difficult, which requires a minimum of 4 to 5 hours, while the second is to choose the door with the X mark that is short and easy, which requires only 3 minutes but only allows 3 to pass. Tanpa, who is becoming impatient, grabs an axe and attacks Leorio. They begin fighting, while Kurapika and Gon convince them to stop. Suddenly, Gon gets a bright idea by watching Tanpa break the wall with his axe. They all press O, and when they are inside, they break the wall that separates both paths using the axe. With the time almost out, Gon, Killua, and Kurapika arrive first, followed by Leorio and Tanpa behind them. With that, they all have passed the third phase of the Hunter exam. 24 candidates have completed Trick Tower and passed the Hunter exam's third phase. Lippo congratulates them on escaping Trick Tower. He tells them that only the fourth and final phase remain, and the fourth phase will take place on Zevel Island. The Trick Tower's third examiner comes with a wheel table with a box on it. He then tells them they need to draw lots. The examiners act surprised, and Lippo tells them it is to determine who will hunt and who. There are 24 cards with ID numbers on them, and they will draw in the order they exited the tower. Hisoka is the first to draw the number 384. Kurapika draws number 16 after Killua draws number 199. Gon is next and he draws number 44. Leorio is last and draws with style number 246, and Tanpa draws number 403. Lippo informs them to remove the seal on their cards and reveal the number on it. He explains that the number revealed is their target. Many candidates immediately cover their badges. Gon is shocked to have drawn Hisoka's number. Lippo tells the candidates that the box has recorded which card was drawn by who. The examiners are allowed to use any method they choose to steal the badges, which includes killing their target. Lippo explains the rules further. Their badges is worth 3 points. Their own is also worth 3 points if kept in their own possession, and that all other badges are worth 1 point. They will need 6 points in total to advance to the final phase. A small steamboat heads for Zevel Island as their new guide Kara commends them for their excellent work during the third phase and introduces herself, telling them it will take 2 hours for the boat to reach Zevel Island. Kara tells them they are free to do what they want for the next 2 hours and to enjoy the boat ride. Leorio asks if he is Kurapika's target and if he will show him any mercy. Kurapika answers that he is not his target and he should not worry. He walks away and Leorio angrily shouts that he isn't his target either. Killua approaches Gon and asks what number he drew. Gon asks Killua, but he says it's a secret. They laugh and Killua assures him that he is not his target. Gon says the same. Killua immediately realizes that number 44 belongs to Hisoka and tells Gon he has bad luck. Gon asks who number 199 is. Killua doesn't know either and he didn't bother to memorize everyone's number, thinking the game is lame. The boat arrives at Zevel Island and Kara thanks them for their patience. Kara explains that they will be on Zevel Island for a week and they must amass 6 points before returning to the landing site. She calls from the first person Hisoka. Kurapika comments that those who disembark earlier hold the advantage. Hitarakura then exits the ship, frightening Kara from the way he looks. Killua decides to scout the area first. Kara calls Gon, telling Leorio that he will see him later. He then runs off the boat and onto the island, thinking that first he must find Hisoka's location. After everyone is out of the ship, Gon wonders how he will get Hisoka's tag. While hanging upside down from a branch, he comes to the conclusion that he can't steal Hisoka's tag head-on. He spots Q with a sword in a long grassy area below. He then notices that there is another candidate, Pakal, behind the candidate he is targeting. Q is aware of someone's presence. Pakal aims his bow at Q. Q senses the attack and manages to dodge. However, it slices his arm, injuring him. Q tells Pakal that was close. Pakal stands up and Q warns him that he won't be so easy. He suddenly starts to lose control over his body and falls down, wondering what has happened. Pakal explains that the arrow was coated with a fast-acting tranquilizer and he won't be able to walk for the next week, but then he shouldn't worry since there's water nearby so he won't die. He rummages through Q's backpack and collects his badge. Gon is amazed at how Pakal masked his presence while stalking his prey. He now understands how to approach Hisoka. Gon grabs his fishing rod and jumps off the tree. He can steal Hisoka's plate with his rod. He practices with his fishing rod getting apples from wood logs in one swing. He knows he'll need to sneak up on Hisoka without him realizing and then wait for the chance to get his badge. During this time, Gon is being watched by Gareta, his predator. He realizes he shouldn't forget that Hisoka will try to get out of the way of his attack. He decides to try to catch a bird by observing how it moves, or he'll never be able to catch Hisoka's tag. He tries the first time but fails. Meanwhile, Leorio walks through the dark forest, wondering whose number he has. Kurapika, on a cliff, looking at the sunset, decides he should probably stay in one place. The next day has now arrived and we see Gon washing his face in the river. Gon realizes there may be a moment when his opponent will target another and he will be able to intervene. He finally manages to catch a bird, which is about to catch a fish that is about to catch a fly. Gon is overjoyed. Loretta, who has been watching him, is surprised that he has actually mastered the art of hunting. However, his intense concentration will be his undoing. Gon notices that his hands are drenched in blood and blistered from practicing for 2 days straight. The scent of blood attracts hemotropic butterflies. Gon then recalls seeing Hisoka wounded on his shoulder from Trick Tower. He takes advantage of this by using the hemotropic butterflies to lead him to Hisoka's location. Gon finds Hisoka and sits quietly in bushes to hide his presence, waiting for the right opportunity to strike. Meanwhile, Leorio has a run-in with Tonpa. Tonpa is collaborating with Somi to steal badges. However, Kurapika halts Tonpa, and they proceed to tie him up and leave him on a random rock with a sign behind him reading, "Please do not feed." They soon catch Somi and his pet monkey too. Leorio receives his badge back and Kurapika takes Tompa's badge, having a total of 6 points to clear the 4th phase. At the break of dawn, Hisoka senses someone nearby in the bushes and he proceeds to walk towards them. Gon thinks that Hisoka notices him, but it turns out to be Goz. Goz challenges Hisoka to a duel, allowing Gon an opportunity to strike while Hisoka is attacking his prey. Goz relentlessly attacks while Hisoka dodges effortlessly. Goz collapses from a fatal wound he received before confronting Hisoka. Hisoka knows Goz wanted to die in battle, but even so, he still refuses to fight him, because in Hisoka's eyes, Goz is already dead. Goz enraged bolts towards Hisoka, but out of nowhere, he's struck down by Gitarakor's needles, instantly killing him. Gitarakor removes the pins from his face, morphing into another one, and is revealed to be a comrade of Hisoka. He gives Hisoka another's badge, and having 6 points of his own to pass the 4th phase, he digs a hole and decides to sleep on it until the final day. On the evening of the 2nd day, Hisoka begins to search for his target and comes across Leorio and Kurapika. Hiding in the bushes, still stalking Hisoka, Gon awaits when he can attack. Unbeknownst to Gon, however, Hisoka has found his own prey in Kurapika and Leorio. He runs after Hisoka, torn between what to do: help them or stick to his plan to steal Hisoka's tag. He quickly picks the more honorable choice, helping his friends if they need it. Hisoka greets them, leaning on a tree. He asks for their badges, needing 2 points, and Leorio quickly refuses. Kurapika figures they must not be his target, so he begins to negotiate. He tells Hisoka the badges he has, but neither are helpful, filling the air with more and more tension. Gon awaits nearby, eavesdropping on the conversation. Kurapika offers the badge that has no meaning for him, and if that still is not enough, he challenges Hisoka to take the others by force. Hisoka merely laughs at their feeble threat and accepts the initial deal. Kurapika leaves the badge in a tree and leaves with Leorio. Gon sits frozen behind a tree still, ripping onto his fishing rod and sweating. Hisoka comments to himself he is happy about their progression, but they still have much to learn. Gon becomes anxious from the thought of the next person Hisoka meets not fighting either when suddenly, Hisoka's killing intent drastically increases. It scatters the nearby animals and frightens Gon to no end. Hisoka's bloodlust has risen to a point that must be satisfied. The next day, after Hisoka hunts his next victim, Gon begins to follow once again. He believes whoever Hisoka runs into next will be attacked no matter what, so he runs ahead to find them. He spots Agon heading in the opposite direction of Hisoka and picks a vantage point. His nerves begin to sway as his heart beats out of his chest. He knows he must completely hide his presence while taking deep breaths. Just then, Hisoka stops, sensing someone. It is Agon. He dashes forward, an insane look on his face. Agon sees Hisoka almost too late and draws his sword. Gon readies his fishing rod, anticipating the attack. Hisoka takes out one of his cards and shouts a chilling scream. Gon wins back his fishing rod and let it loose. Agon thrusts forward with his sword, missing Hisoka's head by centimeters. Hisoka is so entranced by the thought of killing Agon. Gon's fishing hook is able to catch onto his tag. Hisoka notices too late the tag has been reeled in. Hisoka and Agon stand after the instantaneous exchange. Agon falls dead to the ground, while Hisoka has already moved on to the matter of his tag. Gon stands up and catches the tag, which lands perfectly in his hand. Unfortunately, Hisoka sees this and looks as stunned as Gon does. Instead of being upset though, Hisoka smiles. Gon rushes off into the brush, trying to get as far away from Hisoka as possible. Before he can truly celebrate, he loses control of his body, paralyzed, and collapses to the ground. Loretta appears, telling Gon how many times he could have killed him. Loretta commends Gon for his concentration while training with his fishing rod, but adds how open he was for the attack. He mentions Gon was so focused on Hisoka, he didn't check his own surroundings. He takes both Hisoka and Gon's tags and leaves. Gon is left alone with his shame of losing. Not a moment later, Garetta falls dead next to Gon. Hisoka stands over him with a smile on his face, expressing how impressed he is with Gon's ability to hide his presence, his timing, and attack. He drops Gon's and his own tags, giving them back to Gon for a job well done. Hiruta was Hisoka's target, so he no longer needs his, but Gon doesn't want Hisoka's tag in this way. Remarkably, Gon is able to stand with a paralyzing drug that lasts 10 days for normal people. He tells Hisoka to take his tag back, but Hisoka refuses, keeping Gon alive so one day he can kill Gon when he's more experienced. Hisoka hits Gon with a ferocious punch to the face and says he'll take his tag back once Gon can do the same to him. He walks off, leaving Gon. Later that night, Gon sits alone in a tree, having won but also lost. And this was the end of part 2. Like always, the links for the next parts will be available in description and pinned in the comment section. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next part.